Good afternoon. A shooting at a school in Austria has left 10 people dead, including the gunman.
Several students were among those killed in the city of Graz, about 2.5 hours drive south of Vienna. CTV's Rahim Ladhani is following the latest developments. He joins us in studio with more. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, we are quickly learning more about who this gunman was. While his name has not been released, police say he killed himself in the washroom after carrying out the attack.
Tense moments at a high school in Austria, with emergency crews trying to get people to safety after reports a gunman had opened fire. This policeman says, in the morning hours around 10 o'clock, we received a report that several shots had been heard. Authorities confirmed the gunman killed at least 9 people and wounded a dozen others before taking his own life. Police say the 21-year-old assailant was a former student who did not finish his studies. He carried out the attack with 2 weapons, which appear to have been owned legally.
We would like to offer our deepest condolences to the families of the victims and the entire city of Graz, and we stand together in mourning.
Graz is located in the southeast of Austria. It is the country's second largest city and home to about 300,000 people. Police say the gunman was not known to them and a motive has not been determined.
Austria's chancellor says the country's flag will be flown at half-mast on all public buildings, and he has declared 3 days of national mourning. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. Next to Scarborough and the latest gun violence that has left 1 person dead.
A man in his 30s was found on a sidewalk with gunshot wounds near Eglinton and Cedar Drive. CTV's Beth MacDonell is at the scene this hour and joins us now with more. Beth.
Nathan, the search for who is responsible for this shooting and what transpired at this shooting is on. Police have blocked a large area of a plaza along with a Tim Hortons and part of a residential street. Police say this shooting happened around 8:30 last night near the corner of Cedar Drive and Eglinton Avenue East in Scarborough. Officers say there was a call about someone in distress. When paramedics arrived, they found a man in his 30s with a gunshot wound. He was rushed to a trauma center but did not survive. Police appear to be focusing their investigation on this area near the Tim's drive-through menu board and these bushes. There are several evidence markers around that area. Officers believe there was some sort of altercation before the suspect or suspects took off.
We can say that the victim was involved in some sort of interaction with at least one other person. We believe that there was a number of people that were in the area of this plaza at the time of the events that unfolded last night. And we're asking for anyone who was here to come forward and provide us with whatever information that they can.
Police say it's still early in the investigation and they are working to gather and review video around this area as well as notify the next of kin. Police say this is the 15th homicide of 2025. Reporting live, I'm Beth MacDonell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. There are questions being raised after Good Samaritans allege it took 10 to 15 minutes to get through on 911 after a teenage boy was shot and later died Saturday night.
Witnesses say they were forced to wait on hold with 911 and eventually put the victim in a car to take him to a nearby hospital. CTV's Allison Hurst has the details.
The 15-year-old boy was on this corner with 2 friends, a witness says, when he was gunned down.
I heard 5 gunshots and waited about a minute, and then I came outside and saw 2 young individuals carrying him and asking me for help.
This man, who asked we not use his name, rushed to help and called 911.
He was having troubles breathing, so I put him on his side and just, held his hand, and his eyes were just white and he was looking at me like in shock. It looked like shock. He was clearly like he was dying.
He says they waited on the call to 911 for 10 to 15 minutes, but no answer.
We hailed down a car and we got him in the hospital there. I know there was no emergency there, but 911 isn't answering, so that's basically it.
It happened just before 10 p.m. Saturday night in the area of Jane Street and Weston Road. Police say the teen was pronounced dead in hospital. The suspect fled the scene.
I do not have any suspect information to provide at this time.
That's what investigators said yesterday, adding,
We are dedicating all necessary resources to this investigation to find those responsible.
Today, no update on who they're looking for, the number of suspects, and there's no one in custody. For neighbors, Saturday's traumatic events are still vivid.
Sad, 15 years old, and you know, his family's probably obviously mourning his death, and it's unfortunate.
Police have not confirmed if this was targeted. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
And Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow and the Deputy Chief of Toronto EMS were asked about 911 while making an announcement this morning at Toronto EMS.
Wait times have come down over the last year, but it's absolutely not good enough. I believe the call came in at 10:01 at night, and then it took 6 minutes and 42 seconds for the call to be answered, which is not acceptable. And the paramedics arrived at 10:11, which is 10 minutes. So within the 4 minutes, I guess, or 3 minutes after the call was received, the paramedics showed up. But as you know, the 911 call center is operated through the police.
Regarding that call, we have looked into it, and as soon as the call is received in our 911 dispatch center, we prioritize based on the nature of the call and the life-threatening nature. I can't speak to the whole process of that call specifically, but it's definitely something that we're reviewing.
And still to come on CTV News at noon, more than $50 million worth of cocaine seized by Peel police as part of a major drug investigation. We'll have those details a little later in the newscast. But first, let's take a live look at the city this afternoon. There is sunshine to start. Temperatures aren't too bad. Might feel a little fresh, especially when you feel that wind. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. And we do have our eye on the sky today because it could get unsettled.
We are still watching a bit of a system potentially making its way through. Very weak, but still it's going to bring the potential of rain and the risk of thunderstorm activity. Still seeing that bit of a haze in the air right now, that wildfire smoke in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Not much in the way of active weather right now. There was a cold front that's kind of pushed its way past us, but as it finishes up, that's the chance of that rain later on today. Again, still heavy wildfire smoke in northern Ontario. We're still seeing that haze here, but it's not enough or close enough to the ground to prompt any alerts, but we'll keep an eye on that throughout the rest of the week. Temperature-wise, it is comfortable, but again, a little breezy, a stronger breeze out there as we get through this first half of our day. We're at 16 through the islands, 19 through Pearson. This afternoon heading to about 14, but overall, it's not a bad day. But again, we're watching that rain potentially late afternoon very closely. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast right now. It's back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
There's been a major drug bust in Peel Region. In fact, Peel Regional Police are calling it historic. There were several tables piled high with contraband and weapons this morning. And CTV's John Musselman joins us live with more details on this. John.
Hi, Nathan. This was dubbed Project Pelican, a year-long investigation. We'll show you some video here. Police were displaying some of the seized drugs. We're talking about huge amounts of cocaine that police put on display here today. Now, this all began in June of 2024 when police received information that the accused were illegally shipping cocaine into the from the United States into Canada. And in fact, as the investigation progressed, they made 2 interceptions, one at the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor, the other at the Blue Water Bridge in Point Edward, Sarnia area. And that's when 9 men have been accused in this case, facing more than 35 charges in connection with this illegal cocaine drug operation. We had a chance to hear from the Chief of Peel Police and the Solicitor General of Ontario. Here's what they had to say.
And these drugs came from south of the border and were destined right here into Peel, the Greater Toronto area, and other communities in Canada. And what they do is represent secondary and tertiary criminal acts, vulnerabilities, and harm that damage our communities right across Ontario.
And Peel Police STEP program, you can see the results of the investments. The success of Project Pelican sends a clear message to anybody in organized crime or anybody who thinks they can simply just get away with it. They absolutely cannot. Our government will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our police services, with our municipal police services, with our OPP police service, and with our First Nations police service across the country in working hard to keep weapons and illegal substances off our streets.
Now, police officials in Canada also worked with the DEA in the United States to come through with these arrests. We're told that a lot of the drugs were hidden in compartments of the trucks that were coming in to Ontario. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Meantime, Ontario Provincial Police have announced the results of a major drug bust, including the seizure of a large amount of fentanyl.
We will remain vigilant as these criminal networks constantly evolve. Law enforcement must follow suit in order to identify, disrupt, and dismantle these networks.
Project Bionic and Project Golden resulted in 43.5 kilograms of fentanyl being seized. That works out to more than 435,000 potentially lethal street-level doses. Project Bionic was a first-of-its-kind investigation for the OPP. It targeted an operation that used a dark web marketplace to ship a high volume of drugs across the country. In addition to fentanyl, police also seized cocaine, meth, heroin, ketamine, and prescription drugs, as well as a gun and several vehicles. 4 people from Ottawa are facing a total of 85 charges. Project Golden was an 11-month investigation into a drug trafficking network affecting several communities across southwestern Ontario. Last month, police carried out search warrants at 16 locations between the London area and Toronto. They seized 38 kilos of fentanyl, large amounts of meth and cocaine, 3 guns, cash, and vehicles. The drugs have an estimated street value of $5.4 million. 15 people were arrested and face a combined 140 charges.
We are following breaking news from Ajax, where a person has been taken to hospital following a crash involving 2 vehicles. Reports from the scene indicate this collision involved a large truck and a sedan. A man was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Eastbound Taunton Road between Ravenscroft Road and Westney Road is closed for this investigation. Motorists are being asked to consider alternate routes. In other news from Durham Region, a 35-year-old former nurse has been charged in connection with thefts from residents at long-term care homes. Kayla Summers is facing break-and-enter related charges. Durham Regional Police have released these images, and they believe there may be more victims. Investigators say the thefts occurred in long-term care facilities in Oshawa as well as Bowmanville.
In London, this is day 2 of closing arguments in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of the 2018 gold medal World Junior Hockey team. CTV's Heather Wright joins us now live with more. Heather, what's been happening in the closing arguments so far this morning?
Well, Nathan, Carter Hart's attorney wrapped up her closing submissions this morning, again saying that the sexual activity that her client engaged with that night with the complainant was consensual. And he also brought into question the reliability and credibility of the complainant's story and testimony. This is sort of the theme we've been hearing emerge over a day and a half of testimony. Megan Savard said about the complainant, known as EM, that her evidence was, quote, deliberately slippery, and she presented unfounded opinions as fact. Now, the next lawyer we heard from was Daniel Brown. He represents Alex Formenton, who carried on with a similar theme, calling into question the credibility and reliability of the complainant's evidence and testimony. He says that the accused, and this is the presentation he made to the judge, created this story of accusing these 5 players of sexual assault in order to cover up from the actions that she took that night. And so these are similar themes that are being woven through the closing submissions of the 3 lawyers we've heard from so far. There are still 2 more to go as the defense attorneys start wrapping up their closing submissions in this case.
And Heather, is the complainant EM in the courtroom?
No, she's not in the courtroom, and when she testified, she did so via closed-circuit video over that 9 days that she testified and was cross-examined. There are a number of people, though, in the courtroom, Nathan. Of course, all of the players who are sitting in desks right behind one another, a number of members of the media and family members as well. In fact, there is an overflow room because there is so much public interest in this case, and so there is another room for people who can't get into the main courtroom to watch this on monitors in another courtroom. And so people watching very closely, obviously, the closing arguments, and then once the judge gets this case, to see what the verdict in this trial will be. And
how long are the closing arguments expected to take?
Well, Nathan, the defense initially was thinking they might be wrapped up by tonight. It seems as though it might go into tomorrow. And then the Crown has said that they need a whole day to present their closing submissions. And after that, there will be an opportunity for a rebuttal. So likely into Thursday, but it's still not clear how long the closing submissions might take and also how long it might take the judge to render a verdict in this case. People we're speaking with say it could be weeks or even months for her to come back with verdicts.
All right, CTV's Heather Wright at the London courthouse. Thank you.
Thanks. For a fourth day, thousands of people took to the streets of Los Angeles, this time peacefully to protest against President Trump's stepped-up enforcement of immigration laws. Monday's demonstrations were described as peaceful, with no repeat of the violence that erupted over the weekend. President Trump has ordered an additional 2,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines to the city. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says the additional troops are not helping the situation, and she leaves little doubt about who she blames for the violence.
We need to stop the raids. This should not be happening in our city. It is not warranted, and the only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C. On Thursday, the city was peaceful. On Friday, it was not, because of the intervention of the federal government. And it's, again, I don't think our city should be a test case, a laboratory.
Anger over the immigration crackdown is spreading across the country. Demonstrators marched through the streets of Dallas Monday night to protest against ICE and the Trump administration. Similar protests have been taking place in other major cities as New York, Atlanta, and San Francisco.
Israel has deported activist Greta Thunberg a day after the country's military seized the Gaza-bound ship she was on. The Israeli Foreign Ministry posted these photos on social media of Thunberg on a plane bound for France. It says from there she was heading to her home country of Sweden. The activist was one of 12 passengers on the Madeleine, a ship carrying aid to Gaza and protesting the ongoing war. Israel seized the boat yesterday, about 200 kilometers off Gaza's coast. Now to Ottawa, where the federal auditor says the cost of buying new fighter jets has ballooned by more than 50%.
And the auditor has also cast a critical eye at all the money spent by the government to create the so-called ArriveCan app. CTV's Colton Prale joins us now with those details. Colton.
Michelle, it goes much deeper than just the ArriveCan app. The Auditor General looking at the company behind it, GC Strategies, and found that over a 9-year period, they were awarded 106 contracts, and there were a litany of issues among most of them. Have a listen to her speaking on GC Strategies just a few moments ago.
From April 2015 to March 2024, 31 federal organizations issued 106 contracts to GC Strategies. In this audit, we found that federal organizations frequently disregarded government procurement rules that promote fairness, transparency, and value for Canadians.
Those contracts were worth $92.7 million. 64.5 of it was actually paid out to the company. And there is, like I said, a litany of problems in those contracts. Frequently, yes, there were issues with transparency. 46% of the time, work was being done and being paid for, but there was no actual proof of what was done, or even if the work was done itself. 33% of the time when we were going through these contracts, the Auditor General found that the people working on it couldn't prove if they were actually qualified to be working on it. 1 in every 5 contracts had a problem where, even though the vast majority required security clearance, the contractors couldn't actually show that they had the security clearance to be working on the projects that they were actively working on. There is a litany of issues here: sole sourcing, a lack of competitive bids, and when they were sole sourcing projects, they weren't making sure that they weren't paying more than what was the market rate. Overall, the Auditor General summarized this by saying this is one company, but the the issues are widespread throughout the public service. Even in this situation, we're talking about one company, but working for 29 different federal departments, 31 different federal bodies in total. And so she's calling on the public service to, in her words, go back to the basics. The rules that they have in place, she says, work, but they need to be followed by the public service. And clearly, in this case, they weren't being.
No doubt people are shaking their heads. People want to see their tax dollars used wisely. Can we talk about those fighter jets? Because sounds like the costs are ballooning. What's at play here?
They absolutely are. You talk about tax dollars. This was pegged at $19 billion to buy 88 planes back in 2022. Canada's bought 16 already. We spent about $1 billion on that. There are still 72 left to buy if we'd like to. And it's important to note the federal government is reviewing that decision. But we do know now it's not going to be $19 billion. The Auditor General says those costs have actually ballooned by 50%, up to just shy of $28 billion to buy the rest of the planes. Plus, if we want to build the infrastructure that's necessary and arm them with the advanced weaponry that's come out in the last few years, that's going to cost at least another $5.5 billion. So you're talking about a total cost going from $19 billion to potentially as high as $34 billion on these planes. And that's just for the planes themselves. There are additional issues. Constructions and the facility to actually house these planes and hold the squadrons in Quebec and Alberta, those are 3 years behind schedule. And even if you do buy the planes and you do build the facilities in time, well, then there's one more problem the Auditor General found. We might not have the pilots to fly them. Canada has had a significant pilot recruitment shortage and challenges since 2018. According to the Auditor General, that still has yet to be addressed.
CTV's Colton Prell live for us in Ottawa with the Auditor's report. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Premier Doug Ford offered his thoughts on the current state of Canada-U.S. relations.
And the Premier says he's hopeful Bill 5 will help speed up critical mineral projects while singling out those who've been critical of the legislation, which is controversial. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
Doug Ford was speaking alongside his friend and fellow Premier Tim Houston of Nova Scotia. Both leaders agree that their provinces and the country as a whole need to do more to build more faster to spur economic growth. Ford revealed that his government has done some polling, finding 73% of Ontarians support expediting mining. Now, keep in mind, we don't have all the specifics of this poll. We don't know when it was done, what the margin of error might be. And this comes as two First Nations that have signed deals with the government to improve access to the Ring of Fire are speaking out against Bill 5. That includes Arrowland First Nation Chief Sonny Gagnon, who says his community stands with First Nations trying to have Bill 5 thrown out. The Premier has made it sound in recent days like the chief is behind his plan and had some pointed words for him today.
Does he want the $200 million electricity deal that we handed over to him? Does he want to get off diesel because they live on diesel? Does he want a road that they can actually leave their community and drive? Did he want a community center? Does he want a hockey arena inside that community center? The answer is 1,000% yes, because I shook his hand in my office. Mark my words in this room, he will be moving forward with this. Not because of me, not because of pressure of me, because he's a smart man. And he understands his community needs to prosper.
The Premier has said he intends to designate the Ring of Fire a special economic zone as quickly as possible. But the next few months for the government will be about consulting with First Nations and stakeholders. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Meanwhile, new polling indicates Premier Doug Ford is the most well-known of all of Canada's provincial leaders. This online survey from Polara found 79% of respondents are familiar with Ford. 39% say they are very familiar with him, and another 39% say they are somewhat familiar. Meantime, 13% say they are not very familiar with the Premier, while 8% say they're not familiar at all. Nationally, 47% of respondents have a positive impression of the Premier, compared to 27% of people with a negative impression. In Ontario, those numbers are 50% positive and 38% negative. Jess.
Well, we've got some sunshine as we get throughout our day today. but we are looking at a higher UV index as well. So if you have plans on spending time outside, hydration and sun protection are key. It's at an 8 in Windsor, considered very high. Here in the city, sitting at a 7, and it gets even higher as we head into the day tomorrow. This afternoon, the slight chance of a light passing shower, maybe a pop-up thunderstorm, but nothing too organized. But temperature-wise, we're right on par for where we should be this time of year. It's just that breeze. Until we get into the afternoon, it is going to be gusty. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect as we head towards that midpoint of the week and we look ahead to the weekend.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. Not the greatest day, but
Yeah.
still not bad. Some people wearing shorts, some people looking kind of comfortable out there, but it's kind of either or.
I feel as though there's moments where you're like, ooh, this is warm, we've got the sun, and then that wind picks up and you go, ooh, I'm cold.
I'm just like, make up your mind. It's like, I want the sunshine, I want the heat, but we're still kind of teetering on that little bit of cold air. We saw a system come through yesterday. We're still seeing the remnants of that. That's that wind and that cooler air out there, but it does get warmer as we head in towards Wednesday. We'll feel into the 30s. So if you miss the heat, just wait a day. But that's kind of how it works in this country, right? The weather changes so quickly. We are still seeing some of that wildfire haze up there, so something to keep in mind, but right now not causing any alerts here on the ground. Weather is brought to you by the Provincial law firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Now, a little haze out there early on, but again, it's not ground level, so we aren't seeing those alerts popping up. But if you are sensitive to the wildfire smoke that is still impacting a large portion of this country, take care as you spend any extra time outside. Temperature-wise, we are kind of teetering on that seasonal point, but that gustier wind is going to make it feel that little bit cooler out there when you're not in that direct sunlight. So maybe a light layer, a good idea, depending on how brave you feel. So get 19 right now here in the city, 21 in Windsor, 21 in Ottawa, a little cooler further north, but they will eventually see the warm up as well. As we head into the afternoon, very seasonal. The chance of maybe a pop-up shower, even thunderstorm, is late afternoon, and then it moves its way out. But we have that risk there. But temperature-wise, really right across southern Ontario, it's quite comfortable. That continues into this evening, sitting very close to that seasonal mark, and we'll see winds become significantly lighter in the second half of our day. This is a system that we are kind of seeing push its way past us. It's what's left behind it that brings that chance of a little bit of active weather late afternoon, early evening, thanks to this trough, that blue dotted line that will kind of swing its way across. That's the leftovers of the system that we had. Temperature-wise, though, again, quite comfortable, a bit breezy. Again, those showers late afternoon, the bulk of it's going to be north of the city, but we could still see some light showers in the downtown core. Give yourself extra time for that. It's right in that sweet spot for the commute for a lot of people. Overnight, though, you just hold on to a few light clouds. Again, a very seasonal day. Not much in the way of any extreme active weather. The bulk of it staying far north of us. Into your Wednesday afternoon, it is hot, it is sunny, it is dry. Sun protection is key. The UV index tomorrow up to a 9, considered very high. So if you work outside, for the kids, if they're at school, extra water, a good idea to pack into their bags. Heading into your Thursday, watching for the chance of some scattered showers, but again, this is not a super organized system or a downpour by any means. Temperature-wise, very seasonal as we head throughout the day today. Breezy to get things going. It lightens up into the afternoon. It's your Wednesday that it is going to be hot and very humid, feeling into the 30s. Heat exhaustion can really sneak up on you, so just take care if you're spending any extra time outside. But we cool right down into the evening, staying just above seasonal by about 2 degrees. Heading into your Thursday, again, there's that slight chance of maybe a passing shower, but the bulk of it, again, really going to be north of us. But pack the umbrella just in case. You rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Heading in towards your Thursday evening, again, we're right on par for seasonal. Getting into Friday, the cloud cover is going to linger. We dip down just a little bit. So after that chance of rain rolls through Thursday, behind it, a little bit of a cooler air mass. So we're sitting below seasonal for your Friday, for your Saturday. Saturday, not an all-day rain affair. The bulk of that activity looking to be in the first half of the day. So into the afternoon, things start to clear up just a little bit. But again, we're holding on just a little shy of seasonal. Still comfortable if you have any outdoor plans. Maybe you're heading to the Argos home opener. You might need to bring maybe a light layer, but you'll be okay overall. Into your Sunday for Father's Day, for the father figure in your life, or just for celebrating a Sunday. Temperature-wise, it is quite comfortable. Lots of sunshine out there, very seasonal, and that continues into the beginning of next week. So we are settling into the month of June, stepping towards the astronomical start of the summer season in a really beautiful way, with temperatures at or just above where they should be. But we'll keep an eye on the wildfire situation when it comes to the smoke, because we're not done with it in our atmosphere here in Ontario just yet. Hopefully this helps you plan. Nathan, Michelle, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Now to the wildfires affecting many areas in northern Ontario and provinces to the west.
More than 700 people have been airlifted to safety from northwestern Ontario as a wildfire, rages out of control there. This fire is threatening Sandy Lake First Nation, forcing mass evacuations in the community of about 2,000 people. The Canadian Armed Forces have been called as the fire doubled in size over the weekend. It now covers an area of more than 1,500 square kilometers, about a quarter of the size of Prince Edward Island.
I'm scared. Trapped.
And look at this, a harrowing situation was caught on video. A construction crew was trapped by the wildfire near Sandy Lake. They were forced to take shelter in a shipping container. Flames surrounded their camp and heavy smoke was stopping helicopters from landing to save them. Eventually, what they did, the crew drove directly through the flames to get to safety. Across the border in Manitoba, meantime, officials say the best way to help with the province's wildfire situation is to just stay home.
Coming up, a show of support to the victims of the Lapu Lapu Festival attack in Vancouver.
Now to a fundraiser to support those impacted by the attack on the Lapu Lapu Day Festival in Vancouver back in April.
10 chefs came together last night to serve a 10-course meal in support of the Filipino community in both Toronto and Vancouver. CTV's Janice Golding reports.
An evening of culture,
This is going to be our last round for this first course.
cuisine, and community.
Our goal is to honor the victim of the Lapu Lapu Black Day party tragedy in Vancouver.
An evening of celebration called A Taste of Unity, an event honoring those injured and killed in the Lapu Lapu Day Festival in Vancouver.
11 people died.
In April, 11 people from 5 to 65 were killed. More than 24 others were injured when a man drove an SUV into a crowd of people gathered to celebrate Philippine hero Lapu Lapu.
They're talking about what they can do for the victims and their families, and also looking forward how they can help ensure that cultural events, community events, will be safe spaces for all.
This is our Wagyu Bistek Tartar Crostini.
10 of Canada's leading Filipino chefs came together to treat guests to an amazing 10-course tasting menu.
Anything that I can do to help, with the tragedy is very unfortunate. So something that I could participate in terms of like the community coming together.
All proceeds from the evening to be donated to the affected families and the victims themselves. Some are still in hospital.
I'm scared now to go to festivals like that because it's so scary, right? And to have a person use a car to hit all these people, it's just terrible. I'm so happy that the chefs got together and were able to have something to fundraise for the families.
I wanted to be here to support the tragedy, and I wanted to have some good food.
Gino Francesco from Sundays by Daddy Chef.
Filipino Canadians uniting for an extraordinary culinary experience, but most of all, uniting for a cause. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Toronto's mayor says 112 new paramedics will be hired this year.
It is part of a plan announced today intended to make communities safer. 362 paramedic superintendents and support staff will be hired over the next 3 years. There has been steady increase in 911 medical calls and pressures on the healthcare system. Toronto Paramedic Services says the plan will support increased ambulance availability by up to 20%. The mayor says steps are needed due to an aging population, the drug crisis, and simple growth in the city.
This will quickly address our safety and emergency services need. Coupled with that, we have a comprehensive plan to increase the number of all frontline first responder, which is for this year, 52 firefighters, over 360 more police officers.
Chow also says the 211 Crisis Community Service that offers support to those with mental health issues is also being increased.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says at least 6 babies have been born with measles.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan talked to Dr. Kieran Moore about the cases and the potential risks for newborns.
Ontario has had 39 people contract measles while pregnant, including 6 who were unvaccinated and passed the virus on to their unborn children.
So that means their mother would have had measles near the end of their pregnancy, and subsequently the virus can spread through the bloodstream.
Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. Kieran Moore says women are especially vulnerable in their 3rd trimester.
In the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, the immune system is somewhat down-regulated so that we don't reject the fetus, we don't reject based on blood type differentials, and that does predispose individuals in that 3rd trimester in particular to severe outcomes from respiratory infections.
Officials urge women to get vaccinated before getting pregnant, since pregnant women cannot receive the MMR vaccine because it contains a live virus.
There are a number of complications that can happen in pregnancy with measles. One is the baby can be born with a low birth weight as a result of having had to fight the virus in the womb.
As was the case with a recent baby death due to measles and other complications. Measles in pregnancy can also result in miscarriage or stillbirth. If someone is unvaccinated and is exposed to measles while pregnant, antibodies from immunoglobulin collected from blood donors can offer some protection. Dr. Moore says the vast majority of in utero transmission of measles has been in the southwestern part of Ontario. Since the start of the outbreak last October, Ontario has seen more than 2,000 confirmed and probable cases of measles. But Ontario's top doctor says vaccination rates, particularly of school-aged children, have been good for most of the province. In Toronto, the grade 11 vaccination rate, students most affected by pandemic disruptions, is 87% now, an increase of 64% since the start of the school year.
When we look at exemptions in our school settings, that rate of exemption is roughly 2 to 3%. So almost 96, 97% of individuals still are getting protected.
And for pregnant moms who are immunized, Dr. Moore says there's no need to worry. But with summer vacations and increased travel abroad just around the corner, health officials say we must remain vigilant. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News.
Now to the Canada Post stalemate. A government attempt to steer both sides toward common ground has hit a snag.
The Crown Corporation rejected a framework put forward by the Canadian Union of Postal Workers for binding arbitration. Canada Post has released a statement that reads in part, the union's refusal to recognize the Industrial Inquiry Commission report and its recommendations in their proposed terms of reference for arbitration is unacceptable. The report called for more flexible routes and part-time weekend positions with similar pay rates and benefits. The union insists its goal is to return to the bargaining table, but is accusing the Crown Corporation of trying to use government interference to further its goals. The union is calling on members to sign a letter to Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu opposing the prospect of a forced vote on what Canada Post has called its final offers.
The G7 Leaders Summit in Kananaskis, Alberta is less than a week away, and final preparations are in full swing.
The event will bring thousands of international delegates and journalists to cover leaders of some of the world's largest economies. CTV's Jordan Kennigan reports.
The signs are updated and security is tight for the G7 Leaders Summit in Kananaskis.
We're obviously talking about thousands of security personnel. We have a lot of RCMP officers, but also other agencies under the Integrated Safety and Security Group.
The village will be locked down starting Tuesday. Leaders from some of the largest economies in the world will meet in the Rockies in less than a week. But for most of the nearly 4,000 international delegates and journalists, Calgary will be their landing spot. The city hopes the summit can also serve as a showcase.
It highlights Calgary as a serious player when it comes to investment, innovation, and international dialogue. It showcases Calgary as Canada's energy headquarters.
The city will distribute welcome bags to dignitaries, including local coffee, chocolate, soap, and buffalo jerky. All leaders will also get a white hat, though there will not be formal ceremonies. Security protocols are preventing any hat handovers similar to when the Smith Bills were given at the G8 in 2002.
Our hope was to be the welcoming city that we know we are and to treat our visitors with grace and respect. And so whatever form that was going to take, we were happy to work within it.
10,000 hotel bookings are tied to the Leaders Summit, and it's estimated the event will bring upwards of $240 million in economic boost across Alberta. But security will be heightened within the city as well. Near the airport, road closures, no stopping zones, and a tunnel shutdown will happen later on this week.
Is that the airport is open and operating throughout the summit, and there's no need to alter or rethink travel plans. People will, however, see an increased security presence.
The U.S. and China held a second day of talks today intended to ease their trade dispute.
All day yesterday, and I expect it to be all day today. It's going well, and we're spending lots of time together.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick there speaking to reporters as he entered Lancaster House in London. The two sides are trying to build on negotiations in Geneva last month that agreed to a 90-day suspension of most of the 100% plus tariffs they had imposed on each other. U.S. President Donald Trump said China is, quote, not easy, but insists his country is doing well at the talks.
The Blue Jays opened a series with the St. Louis Cardinals last night.
Fly ball, high and deep, right center field, it's gone!
The Jays tied the game at 4 in the top of the 9th, and they were able to score the go-ahead run in extra innings and hold on for a 5-4 win. The teams will continue their series tonight.
Summer McIntosh has set another world record in the pool. The 18-year-old from Toronto swam the 200-meter individual medley in 2 minutes, 5.7 seconds last night at the Bell Canadian Swimming Trials in Victoria. That broke the old record by more than 0.4 of a second. McIntosh won gold in the event at the Olympics last summer. This record-setting race comes after McIntosh set a world record in the 400-meter freestyle over the weekend.
The Toronto Argonauts are showing off their Grey Cup championship ring. The team won its 19th Grey Cup last year, beating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Players, coaches, and staff were presented with the custom rings during a private ceremony. Replicas of the championship ring will be given to the first 10,000 fans at BMO Field for the Argos home opener on Saturday. The team is set to take on the Calgary Stampeders.
Coming up on CTV News, a decommissioned plane has become a new play place in Toronto. We'll have those details after this short break. Summer fun is taking flight in North York. A new playscape is now boarding near Downsview Park. CTV's Scott Lightfoot reports.
If you've ever wanted to play on the site of a former airport, the plaza at YZD might be for you. Featuring a decommissioned airplane, originally built on the site and now functioning as a play area for kids, the new public space also includes 5 airplane fuselage carts turned into giant planters, repurposed lights from the former airport's taxiway, and an old sink from the Bombardier facility, now functioning as a water installation.
And we've reimagined them as objects of play and objects that can be taken over through city nature in order to create a space for the community to gather, for farmers markets to happen, for our winter skating rink to happen, and to give people this interactive moment with the history of this site.
It's all part of the 30-year transformation of the 370 acres that were once Downsview Airport. A mix of residential, commercial, and cultural spaces are planned, but until they're built, there are also a number of temporary installations like the plaza and the nearby 50,000-seat Rogers Stadium, set to open later this month.
Some of these spaces will be here for a number of years, in some cases a number of decades. And so it's a really kind of, I think, innovative way of redeveloping space where we're thinking about what are we going to do long term, but for the places that sit empty, what can we do with them until such time that they're going to be redeveloped to make them meaningful for the community?
The plaza is meant to offer a place for people to gather, but also a spot for the developers behind the site to learn about how people use public space as they prepare for the long-term future of the former Downsview lands. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Yeah, that does look like fun, and pretty soon kids are going to be looking for fun stuff to do. It's, you know, school's almost ending. What, a few more weeks?
The countdown is on in households all across the city. For teachers, too.
And we're getting into that time of year where the weather's starting to get really nice out there. You want to spend some time outdoors. Today, it's okay. It's pretty seasonal, but I think, you know, people are looking forward to maybe tomorrow. If you like the heat, Wednesday is for you. We'll be at 28, feeling into the 30s. But it also comes with a very high UV index, so sun protection and hydration are going to be key to spending any time outside. Not looking at much in the way of active weather here in southern Ontario. The bulk of that system has pushed off, but there's a little bit of a trough coming behind it that could bring a pop-up shower late afternoon. Comfortable though right now, sitting at 19, a little breezy out there, but the winds get lighter as we head into the second half of our day. Again, very seasonal today. That chance of a pop-up shower late afternoon moves out pretty quick. We head into our Wednesday. The heat is on, and then we're very seasonal as we get into Thursday before a bit of a cool down comes in just in time for your Friday and your Saturday. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, looks pretty good. Thanks, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.